All right. Welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And here we are, another week closer to the regular season. So we've all been waiting for. And tonight I'm joined by my co-host here, Michael Pless. How you doing tonight, Michael?
I'm doing great, Gene. Glad to be back on. It's going to be an awesome show tonight. Talk Bucks football. Again, we're so close to regular season. I can't wait. It's just like just getting that feeling where you're just ready. I mean, it's very exciting times. I mean, this team is watched it on Hard Knocks last night. I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, we get Bucks football twice a week now, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, just happy. I mean, real Bucks talk is kicking. We're just amped.
Yeah. And again, folks, if you get a chance, go out to realbuckstalk.com. Great content. And I promise you, if you look at what Real Bucks Talk is doing and you go out and look at some of the other articles that are out there, you'll find that these articles are unique and they take a different approach to Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, which is really good. And I'm not taking anything away from what anybody else is doing, but I think it's great to have something else that you can look to. So thank you for your work. I think you do a great job. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I wanted to start out by getting your takeaways from that game. And, again, it's preseason. I get it's preseason. I know that people are out there going to, hey, it's preseason. We know that. But, there are things you can take away from it. So what I wanted to do, Michael, is get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with a couple of takeaways. I mean, when I'm looking back on the game, I saw Blake Bortles is pretty bad. That's obvious. Our first team offense was really good. I thought that opening drive by the offense was outstanding. I mean, that was 11 play, 83-yard drive for a touchdown. Looked really good. I mean, Jameis was spreading the ball around. I mean, the run game looked strong. Ali Marpet at center was looking really good. I liked what he was doing. I mean, you could just see the pocket was opening up, and Jameis had time to throw. Everything looked good that drive, and I thought there was a couple other good drives. Missed a touchdown to Mike Evans, so that probably would have been a little bit more sweeter as far as scoreboard. But I mean, and then my last takeaway was probably like the defense. I thought the defense overall looked good, but again, going up against Blake Bortles, so I give it a kind of an asterisk. And then I thought the third team or the third team defense I thought did really well just to hold out and get that win, because winning does matter even though it is preseason.
Yeah,
so those would be my takes.
And the guy that stood out to me is a guy that where there was a question mark behind his name. J.R. Sweezy. I think J.R. Sweezy's been doing really good, and he's doing what we thought he would do. When we picked him up in free agency, he's doing exactly what we thought he would do, or the Bucs thought he would do. And to me, that's exciting. That's something you don't have to worry about, and you can focus on other things. So just looking at that the offensive line as a whole, every time that I'm on Twitter during the offseason, we heard people questioning the offensive line. We're not sure about the offensive line. We're not sure what they're going to do, but these guys are really coming in there, and they're making plays. And folks, Caleb Benenoch, I think this is his second year. He's got the physical tools to do it. It just, again, you really can't judge a draft pick until the third year to get a real idea of what they're capable of doing. So Caleb Benenoch going into his second year, he was a late round pick. And the fact that he's getting playing time, it says a lot about Jason Licht and getting players like this in the late rounds and being able to use them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought Beninock did pretty well in the run game, and I thought he looked good. Struggle a little bit in the pass protection, but that's going to happen. I mean, the guy's getting used to a new position, especially in the NFL, going up against speed rushers. So that's difficult. But I mean, a couple other things I thought was noticeable. I mean, not many penalties, which was good. You always like to see that. I mean, there was a few, but nothing like drastic where it's costing us drive or anything like along those lines. I thought the punter again was outstanding, Brian Anger. That guy's the man.
Yeah.
So special teams was good. I liked some of our return game as well. I thought Reedy and Josh Huff had some nice returns. Um, looked good. I thought Ryan Smith played really well. He really came back and bounced back in his second game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else, stood out. And a lot of good things. Doug Martin looked good, Peyton Barber, as far as the running game.
Peyton Barber surprised me. And shout out to Pat Donovan. If you're watching, Pat Donovan, what's up, from 620. That's his guy. And, he's been very high on him. And I see what all the talk is about, just watching him play. And, he's a great change of pace back for some of the backs that we currently have. So that's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And he's a guy that, came on last year as an undrafted free agent, and he's just working to get better, and you can see it. He's just showing improvement with each game, or, each week he's getting better. So that's all you can ask for. And, same thing with Adam Humphries. All those guys, Cameron Brate, all these guys are undrafted, and they're just continuing to show signs of improvement, which is all you can ask for.
So I have
really
to ask you this, just curious, what your thoughts are on this. Is this the GM and the scouts, or is this a system where they come into a system and they're able to succeed or get better? Or is it a little bit of both? I would have to say, just me looking at it, I think we have a lot of coaches that are teachers, and they are actually mentoring people to get better. And we just haven't, as an organization and as a fan base, we haven't seen this kind of coaching. I'm trying to think when, where you've had this solid defensive coordinator, a solid offensive coordinator, and these players are benefiting from this. I don't know. I'll let you go ahead and jump on that answer there.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Again, I think what it is Jason Lighton, and how he looks for high character people. He finds guys that are understanding this game from the neck up. He finds very strong mentally players where they can come into and just learn how to get better. But it starts with the work ethic. I think he just finds guys that really love football, and you build around their skill sets. Like Cameron Brate, he was a really good receiving tight end out of college, and he's doing the same thing now in the NFL. They're just building around that, but they're also making his skill sets more evolved and better overall. Like, he's becoming a better blocker. You can already see it. He's already better at his biggest weakness was blocking last year, and he's starting to block people much better. Same thing with Adam Humphries. They saw a skill set where he could be an ideal slot receiver, and they're working with that. They're building on his strengths. But again, the guys that they bring in, they love football, so it's easier to coach them, and that way they get better. It's just they're more coachable guys.
Yeah, most definitely. And while we're talking about that, Brandon Fuller brought up an interesting question. He was asking, what type of improvements do you want to see? I'm going to let you start with that question. I think that's a good question. It kind of ties into what we're talking about. At the beginning of the season, what were your expectations just watching these practices? And, where we are now, what kind of things do you expect to see the Bucs improve on?
Yeah, as far as overall, I definitely, what they need to improve on is definitely red zone offense. I think that's the biggest thing. They need to get better at red zone. I think what their strengths are already is a really good third down team. They're already really good at third down. So they really have that, I think, down. But I think the obvious is run defense and red zone offense. I think that's where they have to improve the most, and I think they will. Right now, as what I've been seeing, and I think deep ball accuracy from Jameis is going to be improved. I think that was one of the weaknesses last year. Our fans were complaining about it. I don't think it was ever an issue. I don't think Jameis had deep ball accuracy issues. I think it was just he never had a guy or guys to go get the ball. Mike Evans is is a good deep ball threat, but he uses his body most of the time to create separation. We never really had that speed to go get the ball like Deshaun Jackson is going to be able to do. Chris Godwin, OJ Howard. So, but yeah, I would say the main things I would expect to improve his red zone offense. I think that's huge, and the run defense for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. And Brandon, I'm going to agree with Michael on this here. I think that is huge. The red zone offense. What we saw from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year with red zone offense, and I'm not making excuses, but they didn't have the weapons that they have right now. Jameis Winston is going into his third season, so he's a lot more mature. He's picking up the nuances of being a quarterback, all the film room. And if you're watching Hard Knocks, you see this guy working out. I mean, he is working on his body. So he's doing everything that he can to win. If you remember what Jameis Winston looked like as a rookie and what he looks like now, it's like night and day. So, it just shows you that, he wants to win and he's trying to spread all that around. And again, outside of red zone offense, I would probably say I'd probably say the kicking game. That's the one thing that you have to have consistency with, or possibly considering 2-point conversions. I don't know. I think you have enough offensive weapons. You could actually consider doing a few more 2-point conversions. So, that's always a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, I think those are going to be big keys. I think, but I think what you will definitely see improve as far as what I've seen so far is we're going to have a much better running game. I think our run game is going to be there, just because of this offensive line is looking very strong. I mean, you could just tell the instant difference with Ali Marpet in there at center. I mean, he just makes so much difference. It's crazy because his strength, his ability to set at point of attack, but also get down the field, and open up holes for the running game is very impressive. So that's going to be huge. And I think our secondary is much better now with they finally have the communication down. I think Vernon Hargreaves, the way he's playing right now. So that's going to continue. But yeah, I mean, from the getting back to the Jacksonville game, I saw a lot of good things. They really improved the run defense. I mean, they only allowed, I think, 19 yards rushing, versus the previous week they gave up like 140. Right. So, I mean, that was very impressive. Kendall Beckwith, Levante David, all the linebackers looked really strong. I thought the linebackers stood out in this game. Darius Glanton, Levante David, all made great plays. So that was exciting to see.
Yeah. So I guess, we're talking about linebackers. What's the status on Quan Alexander? Have we heard anything? How is that hamstring?
He's going to be fine. It's nothing serious. I mean, they might just keep him out for this week, and there's really no reason to play him. But he's going to be fine for Miami, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so it's nothing serious.
And the one thing that you will see from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if there's a hamstring injury, they take that very seriously, and they will shut a player down for quite a few games until they know they're 100% good to go. And that's the one thing I appreciate about this organization, And while we're talking about the Jacksonville game, Fleming, the cornerback number 30, Fleming, amazing player. I really, when you hit on some key points when you were talking about how you have to have that passion for the game. You have to have, no video. What's going on here? Let's see. Hold on one second. Okay, we're good. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on there. I'm seeing a video. Okay, just making sure. I really thought that he played good and they showed his work ethic, and I thought that he did a really good job.
Right. I think he'll be a guy that we can expect to be back with the Buccaneers. I think once he gets 100%, I think they'll try to find a way to get him on um, or on the team, maybe possibly if there's a spot opening up. But I think he's a guy you look down the road and maybe sign him if he stays a free agent. Maybe they can sign him to a futures contract for next season. Definitely would like to see him back in camp because he has a lot of potential. He really shows a lot of good things. But yeah, I mean, it starts with the neck up. I mean, he just has that mentality, of wanting to get better, and he has that work ethic already. Those are guys you want to build your team around, and we
Yeah,
can expect that
it
going
was really
forward.
cool listening to Dirk Cutter talking about him. He said 7 o'clock,
Mhm.
you see this guy doing his own drills, behind the shed.
Right.
And that's
Right.
the kind of thing you need, people that are self-motivated, like Jameis Winston is coming in, like
Mhm.
Quan Alexander does going into the film room. And guys like that are very important for a
Mhm.
team. And when you have that kind of mentality, it really helps the culture and it becomes contagious.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, self motivation is very important for all these guys if you want to be great in this league. Because if you can't get started yourself, I mean, it's going to be very hard to find greatness in the NFL because it's a very competitive league. It's the ultimate competitiveness. I mean, you got to have that mentality of wanting to win no matter what, and be the best at everything you do. Because if you're not, it's going to be short lived. You're going to be the next Daquan Bowers, So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and Adolov Shemesh had brought up an interesting point. He was asking about the kicking situation. I think
Mhm.
we kind of touched on it a little bit. I think Nick Folk will be okay. Nick Folk is
Yeah.
a steady kicker. Again, this is preseason, and I think he'll be fine when it counts. I'm not really stressing about that as much as I was with Roberto Aguayo, because you have game film to look at of Nick Folk from last year and previous years to know that this guy's been around the league for a while, so he can make
Mhm.
kicks. And
Right.
with Roberto Aguayo, he was an unknown commodity. Just looking at his rookie season and what he's done in camp this season, you need somebody that you can depend on a little bit more. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, he just wasn't making his kicks, which he only had one job,
Mhm.
and that's to make kicks, and he just wasn't making it happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think Nick Folk will be fine. I mean, he was 87% last year. Um, I think he's going to be steady and consistent. Again, he's not going to make them all. Bucks fans. I mean, he's going to have his misses, but I think he's going to be more than steady. And I think he'll give us that consistency that we're looking for at the kicker position. Again, he only missed 4 last year, so I mean, if he can repeat that, I mean, we'll take it because points are critical in this league. So
Yes.
whenever you can get points, I mean, you got to have them. So, but I'm confident in Nick Folk,
Yeah.
much more so than Roberto, like you said. I mean, the team just couldn't trust him, and you got to have a guy back there that you can trust, and I think Nick Folk's going to be that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we I think we talked about this before we came on the air. Roberto's missing kicks in Chicago right now, so unfortunately, his inconsistencies are following him, and
Mhm.
it's going to be kind of hard to beat out Barth Vader over in Chicago. So it just remains to be seen. We'll see what he does.
Mhm.
Um, Again, I'm good with that. There are a lot of other things that we need to work on. Or excuse me, the Bucks need to. I didn't say we. I'm not out there playing, but red zone. The red zone offense will help the kicking game, because if you're
Mhm.
scoring touchdowns, you're not having to worry about threes or any other stuff. I mean, you're handling your business. I can't expect. This is not Madden. I don't expect touchdowns every time you go down the field. However,
Right.
I would like to see Tampa getting in there, and when you're in scoring position and you have all these weapons, get in and get those points. It
Mhm.
definitely takes pressure off of your kicker, and when it comes time for him to get out there, then he can do his thing. So
Mhm.
you limit the amount of times he's on the field. You should be able to raise his percentage of making kicks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think so far what we see in the preseason, again, the Bucs aren't going to throw out their, number one red zone plays out there. Again, it's all vanilla. That's why you look at like the first game with the Bengals. I mean, they did 2 fades to Mike Evans because that's something they need to work on. I mean, it's just something, that's consistent. If that was a real game, they probably would have done something different. They probably would have done, some type of running play or maybe a different concept with the passing game. So again, it's really vanilla right now. We might see some more actual plays that we might see in the regular season this week against the Browns, just because you're going to have the starters out there longer. But again, it's still going to be very vanilla. You're not going to see a lot as far as the red zone goes. I'm not going to really worry about it, but I think, like you said, it's going to improve because of the weapons surrounding Jameis Winston, this offensive line being much better with Ali Marpet center. So, but yeah, I mean, it starts with that right there.
Yeah, and again, it's preseason. The one thing I do say that I like about preseason is you work on your fundamentals. I mean, that's basically how you're making plays based on your fundamentals. And right. There's no schemes drawn up to score or to get extra yards or whatever. You're just playing based on your ability, as a vanilla play. There's no thought really put into it. Hey, we're running this. We have these plays scripted and we're going to run these plays. And that's what they do. So, in my opinion, I like it. It really gives you a better idea of the unproven commodities to see what they're capable of doing. And that's kind of what I really appreciate about these preseason games. If there is anything that you can take away from it.
Yeah, and what teams might do is they'll run plays that are maybe designed to be used for later on the season. They use plays that, hey, maybe is at the bottom of the playbook, and they just put that out there, and then when it comes to Miami time, they're going to bring out something completely different, and it's going to be more geared to what they're facing in Miami as far as their defense and everything. But yeah, I mean, you got to take preseason with the same grain of salt and just move forward. The main thing is just get healthy, and a lot of this is just building up stamina and making sure you're good to go as far as the full season. And for most guys, it's just getting game tape out there for other teams. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you on that. Dolev Shemesh was asking about the offensive line. What do we think about the offensive line? We kind of touched on that a little bit, but I don't mind going back over that again. I like the offensive line. If you have gone back and listened to our podcast, Michael and myself have both said we don't see any problems. Well, I don't say any problems. We think that the offensive line will be just fine. And this was even before the draft. We were saying that because there were a lot of pieces that were not in place that are in place, and we're seeing what these players are capable of doing. As a matter of fact, Michael Pless has a great article talking about Ali Marpet and just being an instant upgrade in that position and what he's capable of doing. So I really like what they've done with the offensive line. But again, it all remains to be seen how this is going to work day one.
Yeah, and we've been, like Gene said, I mean, we've been preaching it all off season. I mean, this off season or this offensive line is going to be just fine. With Ali Marpet at center, you have J.R. Sweezy coming back at right guard. That is very, very good for this Bucs offense because they just provide a physicality and just a demeanor that you want from an offensive line where you can be able to enforce your will on these opposing teams and really run the ball at them. But also they're physical in their pass protection, but also athletic enough to get out in the screen game and make a difference that way. So it's going to be good. And I think Donovan Smith has taken that next step. He's already shown improvements. He's got a nice test. He's got a good test against Myles Garrett this week, which is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here real quick. These guys are nasty. I mean, you look at J.R. Sweezy and you look at Ali Marpet, and you may not really see it. You have to really watch the film, but these guys are nasty. They've brought something to the offensive line that we haven't seen in Tampa for a minute.
Right. Yeah, that whole interior is very nasty. I mean, even Kevin Panfield. I mean, Kevin Panfield's is a big boy. I mean, they're all big. I mean, our offensive line averages over 6'4", 300 pounds. So we have the size, and that interior is much upgraded. Just the overall strength and their athleticism. And I think DeMar Dotson's going to bounce back. He's going to be out this week, but I think he'll be back for the last preseason game. He won't play, but he'll be back in there practicing, so that's good. Um, line is looking very strong, and they have the depth, especially in those interior positions. Need a little work on the outside as far as their tackle depth, but I think that will be there as they go forward.
Yeah, and this is going to benefit your running game right here. Players like Jacquizz Rodgers, Charles Sims, or whoever they have, in the backfield is going to benefit from this offensive line and some of the upgrades that you've seen. And keep in mind, J.R. Sweezy is an upgrade from what we had last year. And if you've watched him in camp, you can see where he's moving people, and he's playing up to the whistle and a little bit past it. So he's done what he was built. He's as good as he was billed, from what I can tell. I don't see any adverse effects from that back injury, and I think he's doing well.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the Bucks had him out for the last couple of days as far as just having him rest. But I think it's nothing serious. I think he'll be back in there. Probably will play this week, I think. I mean, again, if they need to hold him out, then they'll hold him out. But yeah, everything looks good. I'm really impressed with what he's doing. Just the whole offense line in general, I thought is just playing more physical. You can see it in their demeanor. And really getting off that ball and making things happen. So, yeah, I think the offense line is going to be just fine. Again, it all comes down to just staying healthy, keeping that consistency, because if you can build that continuity, that makes your line play better as the season goes forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they started gelling towards the back end of the season, and you saw a totally different team. It was like night and day from the first part of the season towards the back end of it. And you saw these players they're gelling. And we talked about this also in the offseason a lot, is that the Bucs have the same coaching staff. It's going to be easier for these players to come in from and pick up where they left off from last year. They can just go in. They know their assignments. They're not having to think about stuff. They actually know it, and it's definitely going to help them as well. So I think that's going to be huge as well. And you've got these upgrades that they've, and that's something too that the Bucs have done since Jason Licht's been there. They've upgraded. It's been a long time since I've seen a roster flipped to a positive like they've done. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jason Licht has done a great job of just finding the right pieces. Like I said, it starts with the draft. He's made sure he hits on his first round picks, and he's done it. He's really built the core players up, and he's got a nice roster going forward. I mean, he's got a lot of youth, but he's also mixed in with veterans. I mean, key signs like Brent Grimes, Robert Ayers, just bringing those type of guys in, Chris Baker, Deshaun Jackson, to mix it in with the youth of getting like O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin. So it's just a really good balanced roster, which, I continue to say, I mean, it's always about having that balance on both sides of the ball. And the Bucs have it right now, and they're in a really good spot going forward. And that's what makes this season so exciting, because we know how good this team can be. Now it's just about putting it together and go out there and execute. And I think they finally have the right mix as far as head coach and GM. I mean, Dirk Cutter, I mean, he is hilarious. I mean, he impresses me on Hard Knocks. But I just like how he keeps everyone accountable, and he just shows it. I mean, if the offense is looking like crap, he's going to let you know about it. I mean, against Jacksonville, he said the offense looked pathetic in that practice, and he let him hear it. And you got to respect that. I mean, he just keeps everyone on their toes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at this. Jameis Winston is a face of the franchise, And when he threw that interception that everybody's jumping out the window about, when he threw that interception, he's like, hey, basically let him have it. I mean, he's no bigger than anybody else on that team. Everybody is held accountable, as you say, and that is important in winning football. Right. I mean, you look at the New England Patriots, and I'm sorry, they're the gold standard. I'm sorry, you can say whatever you want to them about them. They win. They have their expectations set to where they win, but people are held accountable. I mean, when you trade the best player you have on defense, and you still go to the Super Bowl, I mean, that says a lot about your team, your coaching, what have you. But just kind of getting back to the Buccaneers, that's what Dirk Cutter is doing. He's holding everybody accountable. Nobody's above getting yelled at or getting called out on what they're doing. So I'm really excited about this team and where the direction they're going.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been saying it all off season. I mean, this is just an exciting time to be a Bucs fan. It's a time to get on board and just see where this season goes. I think it's going to be one of the better seasons. Again, expectations are high, but as they should be. I mean, Dirk Cutter has said it often. I mean, this is the best roster they've had in some time. It's a balanced roster. You got talent everywhere at all positions. The competition is all-time high. Again, I mean, if we can stay healthy, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team, like where it's heading right now.
You know what? You're right, and that's kind of how I look at it. And I why not Tampa?
Right.
I look at some of these other teams, and I've looked at Atlanta, and I know that there's high expectations for Atlanta this year. The Saints, the Panthers, but I look at Tampa, and Tampa's right there too. So Tampa is all Tampa has to do is put this all together, go out on the field and win these games, and not hurt themselves, not put themselves in a position to where they have to struggle, but put themselves in a position where they can win some games.
Yeah, and I back to Hard Knocks last night. I thought, I mean, the whole scene with John Gruden and Rex Ryan talking with Jameis, I mean, they pretty much said it. I mean, they were saying, Jameis, you got all the weapons you need now. I mean, now it's time to go out there and make it happen. I mean, there's really no excuses. I mean, they were saying, I mean, Rex Ryan was pretty much saying, hey, you got 2 Pro Bowl tight ends, two Pro Bowl wide receivers, you got 2 dominant tight end duo and Cameron Brate and OJ Howard. You got a running game, Doug Martin coming back. I mean, there's really no excuses. A defense that is getting better each day. So it's now time to go out there and win. I mean, there's really there's no holes really.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about. I want to kind of get more into Hard Knocks. I really enjoyed Hard Knocks, and folks, if you've listened to the podcast in the years prior to this, I've always said no, it's too much of a distraction. But you know what? I'm really glad that Tampa got Hard Knocks, and I think it's really good for people to see who our quarterback is in Tampa, and just get some idea of what this organization is all about. One thing I will say is, just walking around, just hearing people say, wow, Jameis Winston's amazing. I mean, on social media, people that aren't Bucs fans, just social media in general, people, wow, I really like what Jameis Winston's doing. I heard somebody talk about Doug Martin. It's really sad what happened, and it's good that he's making the most of his second chance. So
right.
I've kind of changed my tune. I have changed my tune, and I really enjoy Hard Knocks, and I'm on board.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've always loved this series. I mean, I've watched it since it's really started. I mean, I loved when they had the Jets on there. I mean, Rex Ryan is hilarious. I'm a big fan of his. I mean, when he had that speech and he's talking about, let's go eat a goddamn snack and for after a meeting. I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, having him and when they did talked with Ocho Cinco and all that, and so I love the show, but I like what they do as far as just telling the overall stories. I mean, last night they they brought in, the whole picture with Doug Martin and really brought him in as far as the focus point, showing Jameis Winston again as far as his leadership. And then also going about, the undrafted guy, and Maurice Fleming, which was a great story. His butt off while he's hurt. I mean, that just shows heart right there. And they make you feel something. I mean, it's very, it makes you feel all the emotions.
They humanize these players. They're not just players.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
human beings, and you can relate to, their everyday things, So
Yeah. Yep.
I appreciate that, especially with Doug Martin. Doug Martin's been vilified since his suspension, and I've heard countless people say he let the team down, and I don't know how many of us, just as people, have gotten second chances to do stuff where we've screwed up. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. If you made a DVD of everybody's life, could you actually sit there and let somebody play that all the way through? There's got to be stuff that there's stuff out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna put it like that. There's gonna be things that you're embarrassed of that you shouldn't have done, or maybe you could have done better. But that's kind of where we are. We're human, and here we are with Doug Martin. Yeah, he's taken the effort to improve his life. He went into rehab. He gave that cry for help, and he's gotten better. Now, here he is. He's worked his butt off. He's gotten himself in shape, and this is my favorite saying: winning covers a multitude of sins. And I promise you, if Doug Martin has a successful season, all this other stuff will be forgotten.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the whole show, I mean, just showing these guys, I mean, like you said, I mean, no one is perfect. I mean, we all make mistakes, and to show that he's going to get a second chance, and I think he's going to redeem himself. And I think it's going to be really good to just watch him progress and how he comes along. And, people forget 2015, he was probably the top 5 running back in the NFL. I mean, yeah, he's number 2 in rushing, but I mean, when he's on, I mean, he's one of the better backs in this league. I mean, his ability to make people miss, to change direction, to get yards after contact. I mean, he is a top running back, and he's probably one of the best pass protectors in the NFL as far as third down back. I mean,
yeah. And what's really cool about, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, he knows how to pick up blitzes, and he's one of the top ones in the NFL. I know a lot of people like Charles Sims, but Doug Martin can do it all. He doesn't have the hands of Charles Sims, but he's working on that. Complete back when he is right.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm right there with you. He's one of those guys, and he can break a long run. Every time he touches the ball, there's the potential that he's going to break a long run. And having him mentally and physically in shape come game 4 will be a welcome addition for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the regular season. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Riley, we're talking about Hard Knocks. Riley is my guy. I am hoping and praying that this guy makes the team. Every time he's on the field, he's making the most of his opportunities. It doesn't matter who he's going up against. He's making the most of opportunities, and everything that I've seen, he's got a nose for the ball. And that's something that, there are some players that do have that, and other players, they have no clue. But he's just one of those guys, wherever there's a play, you can see him somewhere near that play. And that's something that, you can't coach that.
Yeah, Riley, I mean, he has a nonstop motor. I mean, the guy went on a blitz last game, and he chased the ball all the way down the field, tackled the guy down at the other 40-yard line. I mean,
where everybody else missed tackles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's got heart, man. I mean, he just nonstop, always going. He's always saying something at the line of scrimmage, making sure guys are in the right spot. And he just knows how to get to that football. I mean, like you said, he's got a nose for it, and he just knows how to get after it. And it's really impressive. Again, he's like we've been saying earlier. I mean, he's a guy that has it from the neck up. I mean, he just understands football, and he's mentally driven to be the best. I mean, and he's just working really hard at it. So, yeah, I think he's got a good chance of making the team. I mean, we'll definitely see him on the practice squad, but I think he's got a good chance of making that final 53.
Yeah, it would be so exciting to see him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think who else really stood
Mm-hmm.
out in this camp. I mean, in this episode of Hard Knocks.
I mean, Chris Baker was
Yeah,
outstanding. I mean,
Chris iconic. Oh, the goat rescuers. So they are the
yeah, Goat Rescue.
yeah, goat rescue.
that,
Yeah, there you go.
that that was
I'm
hilarious.
looking to donate, so
Yeah,
that
that whole
was
comment.
funny.
Surprisingly, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick he's been a character for this show. I mean, he has been hilarious. I mean, just talking about, Jameis and his whole his rhyming, at the beginning of the game, rhyming with his centers, where they're in the little huddle, and
Yeah.
he's like, I think your rhyme was a little too long. I mean, you got to stick with the pregame speech, and I'll do the rhyming. But I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just little things like that. I mean, Chris Baker and his dancing. I mean, that is awesome. And Gerald McCoy getting food trucks for everybody. That's great to see.
That's where I needed to be right there, man, because that barbecue looks so good. And
It does.
I'm telling you right now, I'm a big barbecue fan. That's the one thing. If you ever wanted to bribe me, barbecue would be the way to do it right there. And just seeing them guys chowing down, I mean, that made me hungry, and I had just eaten. So, Joe McCoy must have hit on something right there.
Mm-hmm.
No, but go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I was salivating at those chicken wings because I'm a big fan of chicken wings. I love them. So, I mean, all those chicken wings looked really good, and he got like every flavor I think from the truck. So, that was impressive.
Yeah, and with the McGregor fight and the McGregor Mayweather fight, I'm actually gonna grill some wings up myself on Saturday. So we'll see if my wings are as up there with those guys. So we'll see what happens. But I want to kind of move on to the Cleveland Browns game. I know you guys are everybody is listening is gonna think I'm crazy, but Cleveland's gonna have a better team than what people think they will. And it looks like Deshaun Kaiser is going to be your starter. So we'll get to see what this kid is capable of doing. But I'm telling you, when you got and I'm sorry, I don't like Greg Williams. I think he's a scumbag, but I think that, he's right for this team to get that defense turned around just based on what I've seen. Just watching the third string players play. And they were playing as hard as the first stringers were in the early on in the game, and that's very important. So can't take this game lightly. I think this will be a good test against a Greg Williams defense to see how they do. And we'll just they're going to play into the third quarter just so they can replicate coming out in the half at the end of the half to see how they do. So we'll see what Tampa does with that.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. I like that, we're going up against Deshaun Kaiser. I think that'll be good to see, just a different look, a different quarterback. He's got some mobility, so he can get around outside of the pocket. So that'll be a good test for our starting defense. See how they can combat that. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland's got a lot of talent. I think they got a good team. I mean, and Hugh Jackson is a very underrated coach. I think he's a coach similar to Dirk Cutter and how he holds everyone accountable. And I think he's very underrated. I think he's been in some bad situations as far as his head coaching tenure goes. He just hasn't had the talent around him, and I think they finally have some pieces to build forward with. David Njoku, that guy's he's a freak of nature. I mean, that's a really talented player. They have the offensive line in place, Corey Coleman. So they have the skill guys, and they have the pieces on defense with Myles Garrett leading the way.
Yeah, most definitely. Myles Garrett is, I think slowly but surely he's going to come on, and he will be he will be a solid performer. So, and just keep in mind they're young. I mean, they had like 400 draft picks last season, and then this season they had another 800. So, you can't go wrong. I mean, if you're at least hitting on 50%, you're doing yourself justice there. So
Mhm.
I guess with the talent that they have and some of the veterans like Joe Hayden in the secondary, I really see big things from Cleveland. I don't see them at the bottom of the division. Just personal opinion.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll definitely take a step forward, especially if Kaiser starts, because I just like the way he is progressing so far. I think that's the way you have to go, even if it's going to cost you games. I think you got to move forward with someone, and he's got the highest upside, and I think that's where you have to go forward, and just build around it and see where it takes you. If it doesn't work out, then you have the draft next year, and you can draft another quarterback. So, just keep it going, but. I mean, this game's going to be interesting. Like you said, the starters are going to play longer. They're going to play into the third quarter. But again, what we want to see is just overall execution. You want to see Jameis sharp again, like he has been, and see that running game a little bit more and get that going. Defensively, I would like to see more pass rush. I would like to see us get after the quarterback a little bit more from the front four. So I'd like to see that. Pick up a little bit, and then just overall consistency. And the main thing is just no one get hurt. I mean, we just don't want any injuries. Knock on wood. So no major injuries. That will be important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's the most important thing is no injuries going into that Miami game. And Robert Jonas
Right.
brought up an interesting point. The Browns have 2 first and 3 second-round picks in 2018. That's ridiculous. That's freaking ridiculous, man. I mean, they put themselves in a position where they can actually, long-term do some things. And, hopefully, it works out for them. So there's that. But, this will be a really good test for, I think this defensive line that the Buccaneers offense is facing may be more formidable than the last 2 that they faced.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a good test just to see how Donovan Smith goes up against Myles Garrett. And you got some big boys in the middle up there and on Cleveland. So that'll be good just to see how we do pushing those guys off the ball. I think they still have I have to look at the roster again, but I know they have some other guys defensively that can make an impact. I know they got Jabril Peppers, so that'll be good to see him. Peppers is a quick athletic guy that has good instincts. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting for sure. I think it's going to be, and I want to see more of Chris Godwin. I think that's a guy we need to look for too. I would like to see him get more involved with the first team. Same thing with O.J. Howard. They got him more involved last week, so hopefully that continues. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun just to see the starters more and get that rhythm going towards Miami.
Yeah, most definitely. Chris Godwin is somebody that as I've watched him, I've really been impressed with him. I mean, everything that I've seen from him, from his route running to his blocking, just in his hands, he's got really nice hands too. I believe that he may be one of the steals of the draft. When every year they do the redraft, I expect to see Chris Godwin in the first round when they do the redraft again.
Yeah.
Because just based on everything that he's done in camp and what he's done when he's been called upon, I'm really excited about having him on the team. And this is a huge upgrade when it comes to what the wide receiver core was last year. And I think that's what really kind of limited Jameis Winston on even, he had a phenomenal season with no running game to still throw over 4K. Just the fact that he's upgraded that wide receiver core is just scary to think, what he could potentially do.
Yeah, I mean, you bring in a Deshaun Jackson, you add a Chris Godwin, and that just immediately upgrades your whole receiving core. I mean, you go from just having Mike Evans and Adam Humphries, and now you add those two to the mix, and now you're 4 deep at the receiver position. I mean, that's very huge. I mean, that's critical. Just to have that many options, you can substitute more, keep guys more fresh. I mean, Mike Evans is going to be more of a factor in the fourth quarter because he's going to be more fresh going into the later part of the game. because you can rotate a guy like Chris Godwin, or you can put a Deshaun Jackson in Mike Evans' position. So it's just going to make the offense more flexible, but it's also better overall as we get towards the later part of the season. Guys are going to have fresher legs, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we keep talking about that, and I don't think people realize the magnitude of having a bye week in week 6 versus a bye week in week 11. I mean, you have to play all these games all the way through until you get to the bye week, and you're going to have players that get nicked up, and players are going to be tired, and, just people be gassed in general having to go that long just playing games. So I think this is very important.
Yeah, and another point, I think I mentioned this probably, I don't know, a few months back. I mean, what the Bucs are going to be able to do now is they're going to be able to bring in Chris Godwin and have Mike Evans sit like they did last year. If you remember last year, the Bucs took Mike Evans off the field a lot of times when they were running the football because that was really the only time. But now, when you bring in Chris Godwin to replace an Evans or Evans is taking a break, you have the ability to have that at both options. You can either pass it or run it. It's not going to be so obvious, hey, we're running on this down because Mike Evans is out. You have other options to go to, and that's the beauty thing. That's the beautiful thing about it. I mean, it's just going to build more diversity, more flexibility, like I said, where you can keep defenses guessing more. And that's really what it's about, because you have to be able to keep defenses off balance in this league. If you can't, then it's going to be very hard to score consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about this. If you look at what the defensive coordinators were doing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season, they were stacking the box. They didn't care. They didn't care. Hey, you let your second receiver beat us if you can. That was their thoughts, because the run game was non-existent. And then you've got Mike Evans, and that was it. Cameron Brate, until Cameron Brate got injured, but they just didn't have the quality of talent. So it's easy to game plan when you have limited weapons on your offense. However, what they've gone and done is upgraded all these different positions. You're talking about a totally different situation now. And I can guarantee you, if they stack the box this season, hey, they're probably not trying to keep their jobs.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be open season, and what they've done so far. I mean, you just look at Jameis's completion percentage. I mean, it's way up there from years past. He's over 70%. Again, I know it's preseason. It's totally different in the regular season, but you can just see how much more crisp he is with the offense. He understands where he's going with the football, and he's got options to go to now, other than Mike Evans. Again, he's still going to throw the ball to Mike Evans a lot because he's Mike Evans. I mean, the guy's a beast. I mean, he's going to be open.
Mike Evans is ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to be open more now than probably ever, because he's got other people around him that can take attention away. So it could be potentially scary, like we've been saying all offseason. The potential is there, and I think it's going to come down the offensive line as long as they're healthy.
And think about this, Michael. Think about this here. We haven't even talked about Adam Humphries. As Robert Jonas brought up Adam Humphries. You're talking about him playing in that number 3 position, and he's going to be that's lethal right there. Just based on the experience that he had playing the number 2 is going to really do nothing but help him to succeed. Playing in this other position. Out there with Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. So. And keep in mind, Jameis Winston has a great relationship with him, and he's comfortable throwing the ball to him. So, there's always that too.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for Cameron Brate. And me and my co-writer Mark, we talk about this all the time. I mean, Cameron Brate is going to be open pretty much, I would say 95% of the time. He's going to be open somewhere, some shape or form, because you just can't cover. You can't double him and double Mike Evans. I mean, it's just impossible. If you double one of them, same thing goes with Deshaun Jackson. I mean, it's just going to be pick your poison. So there's going to be guys open pretty much every play. I mean, so it's going to help Jameis that it's so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about Cameron Brate as another name that, we've mentioned that, he's got a great relationship with the quarterback again. There's another guy that Jameis is not afraid to drop the ball off to, who can, who's got nice hands, and he can get those extra yards. And, I'd like to see him using him more in the red zone personally, but
Right.
what do I'm not a head coach, but I mean, if it were me, just based on, his relationship with Jameis, I would love to see, him being utilized in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll definitely see that more this season, just because, like we said, I mean, with the more weapons, he's going to have more space to operate with, especially Cameron Brate. I think he'll be able to get more single matchups. And if he gets one-on-ones, I mean, he can take advantage of that. You can just throw it up to him, and he'll make a play on the ball. So
yeah,
it's going to be good. But, yeah, I mean, and we can talk about the offense all night. And again, no one's really talking about this defense enough. And I think that is what's going to be very surprising to everyone, how good this defense is going to be. I think it's in place to be a really good defense. The defensive line is deeper. They have the linebacker core. The secondary is on the same page. So, again, it goes back to staying healthy. That's critical for every team.
Vital.
But, yeah, but, I mean, they just have everything in place. I mean, getting Mike Smith back is so huge. So I think a lot of, this defense is going to go under the radar, which is scary. And I think teams are going to be in a rude awakening when they see this defense. And I'll make a bold prediction. I think for that Miami game, I'll be shocked if Miami gets over 17 points. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm actually going to write that down, because I'm thinking. Robert Green made an interesting point. He was talking about, he said Winston still has to be the guy to not throw the game away. And we've seen some of the plays, and we've heard the talk, and you're absolutely right saying that, just based on what you've seen from him, his body of work. I totally get where you're coming from. As he was saying, the offensive line was a scapegoat last season. Pass protection was there. Run game is where there was issues. Yeah, exactly. And I think I touched on that a little bit earlier, is that, he didn't have the run game, and that really hurt him. If you look back at 2015, Jameis had the run game, and that really kind of helped the team a lot. They didn't have the weapons that they have now, but he was still able to throw for 4K that then too. And again, he really, there aren't any excuses this season. Jameis has to go out there and produce. So you're right, Robert. You're absolutely right in saying that, and I 100% agree with you. He has to go out and produce.
Yeah, and Robert, we appreciate your support on Real Bucs Talk. I mean, you're a big fan of ours, and we're a fan of yours. I mean, on Twitter, you really put out good points out there. So, yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, Jameis touches the ball a lot. I mean, he's the guy that probably touches the ball the most because he's the quarterback. And really, it's up to him if we're going to win or lose, because he's the guy that puts us in position.
Well, and too, Robert, I still, I've kind of always said this, that the running game opens up the passing game. And when you're running the ball effectively, it opens up the play action pass. And Jameis is a master with the play action pass. And again, I don't, when you only average, what did they get, like 800 and something yards rushing last season or something like that? Some crazy unlimited.
It wasn't much.
It wasn't much.
I think we only averaged, I think, like 3.5 yards a carry, something like that. We didn't have many rushing touchdowns either. So
right.
Yeah,
but
I think
again, I think that's something that Michael had mentioned, Robert, is when you have balance on the team, it's definitely going to help out. When the running game and the passing game complement each other, that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the weapons surrounding Jameis now, I think you're going to see turnovers go down, because he's not going to be able to he's not going to have to force the football to Mike Evans every play. He's not going to have to force the ball anywhere, because he's going to have guys open. I think he's going to be more willing to check the ball down, like we've seen so far this preseason. He's checking it down more. taking what the defense gives him. But like you said, with the running game, I think we're going to be able to establish it because we're going to be able to spread teams out. I mean, that box is going to be very hard to stack because we have the weapons on the outside to beat them if it's a stacked box. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to see less defenders, and that's going to be beneficial for offensive line to open up holes and get this running game going. And if Jameis has a play action game this season and it's there consistently, Jameis has a chance to win MVP. Dude,
Yeah.
should I just put out there?
Yeah, because he could sell that play action.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I really love about his game is he could sell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he models his game after Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning was one of the best at play action, and he puts it up to a T. I mean, he really fakes you out with that ball fake, and he knows how to do it. He manipulates defenders with his eyes and takes advantage.
Yeah, and again, yeah, just like I said, this is his third season. He's got to go out there and make those plays. So, you know, I'm me, I'm definitely about Jameis Winston. That's my guy. And you know, but again, I'll say when it's bad, it's bad. And I really believe that he's done a lot to improve this season, physically and mentally. And I expect big things from him. I don't have low expectations. I think that you know, he's going to go out and play at a high level. So that's what I do expect from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to remember, I mean, again, he's going to be a gunslinger. That's just who he is in his nature. I mean, he's the ultimate competitor. So there's going to be times where he's going to have interceptions. I mean, it's just going to be there with him. But I mean, his ability to make those big plays, I mean, it overcomes them as far as his mistakes. I mean, it's just gonna, again, he's gonna have those moments where he has, you know, what the hell was that? But
yeah.
I mean, again, I think those are going to be limited this season because of the guys he has around him now and just the full complement of players surrounding.
And you know, like to that point, you know, that's the good with the bad, and that's something that, you know, I expect at least one or two in each game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So here we are, and what I wanted to ask you, this Browns team that Tampa's up against, who's somebody that you're looking to step up and make plays, you know, on this Buccaneers team, whether it's defense or offense? Me personally, I'm looking at JJ Wilcox as somebody I would really like to see step up. I'd like to see more turnovers personally.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, you know, especially for the defense. I love, you know, the aggressiveness and just seeing more of that. And if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, getting turnovers. So that in the red zone are the two things that I'm really actually going to be watching for this game, just to see how they do, because this offense is facing probably the best defense they've faced in the preseason. Hard to believe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The guy for me that I want to see step up, and it goes to the pass rush. I want to see something from Noah Spence. I just want to see more consistency as far as his pass rush, and really see him get after the quarterback. So I'll be looking for him. I want to see him have that, kind of a big game, and he'll be going up against some good offensive tackles. I mean, they have Joe Thomas, who's probably one of the best in the game. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do against him, and that would be my guy. I think another guy to look for is Justin Evans. I want to see him take a step forward. I don't care if it's just something. I just want to see something more from him. And I would also say I just want to see more from Chris Godwin. I want to see him get more involved with the first team, and I think we'll see that this week. Him and Jameis getting more time together. So I'd like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Justin Evans, then the nice thing about Justin Evans is they're not having to force him onto the field. He can learn as he goes. But again, you definitely want to see improvement. You look at game film just like I do, and you want to see those behaviors from college kind of go away, and you want to see improvement as a professional. So these games are huge on the job training for him, and just being able to go out there and make plays and be in the right places. And not taking bad angles or not such bad angles, but putting yourself in a position to succeed. And I think with Mike Smith being the defensive coordinator, I think it's definitely going to help him along. I don't think he could ask for a better situation.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And same thing goes with Kendall Beckwith. I want to see him also take that next step. He had a good game last week against Jacksonville. I want to see if he can continue to do that, playing with the first team. So I like to see him continue his ways, and hopefully continue to get better, and see him just disengage at point of attack and make some plays behind the line of scrimmage more. Maybe get into a little bit more as far as pass coverage and see what he can provide there. But yeah, main thing for me will be pass rush this week. I want to see our defensive line get after it. Gerald McCoy had a great game last week, but I want to see more than just Gerald McCoy. I want to see something from our, edge rushers, and just see a little bit more consistency there. That'll be good to see.
All right. Well, here we are. It's been an hour, hard to believe, and we're wrapping up the end of the show. I want to let you go ahead and I don't know if you have any shout outs or what you're going to be working on, and tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow us at Real Bucs Talk, realbucstalk.com. We have a lot of good new content up. We just pushed about like 4 or 5 articles up in the last couple of days, so a lot of good stuff. We have video content with game tapes, so if you want to watch the Jacksonville game or the Cincinnati game over again, mainly just featuring the highlights, you can watch it up on our site. But yeah, I mean, Bucs fans, all I can say is just get ready for this season. It's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a special one. I really like what this team is doing. Again, it's we just haven't had this in such a long time. We really have the right people in place from the top to the bottom. You have guys that really care about what they're doing. We have leadership in place. We have guys that want to win and are doing anything in their power to make that happen, which is saying a lot because we've come so far from where we were. The Raheem Morris days, the Shiano days, Lovie Smith, those days are done. We're finally returning to winning football. And yes, John Gruden was a winning coach. He did provide wins, so we're finally getting back to that respectability, and we're getting the notoriety. This team is finally back on the map, so it's just something to get excited about. And let's go out there and fill Ray J up and really support this team, because it's going to be an exciting time. And go Bucs.
That's right. And I hate talking about the 12th man. But anyway, I wanted to shout out some people. Eric Lofton sent me this. This is the Bucs Nation 813, baby.
There we go.
One of these patches. I know that there's all these different patches and stuff going around, but to me, Bucs Nation kind of says it all right there, 813. And I want to thank the Dina Nation, Navajo Nation. Thank you so much for the little necklace here. I appreciate that. I will be rocking this at Ray J, and I'll send some pictures back, but I appreciate that. It was very nice. Didn't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. And folks, again, everybody, you got to get out there. If you can get to a game, at least one game, go check out the Bucs. Let's fill the stadium up. I'll be there. I'll be at the Chicago game, and I will be at the Arizona Cardinals game. And, it's just exciting to get out there and support your team if you can. So I'll definitely be doing that. And, Wednesday, just for everybody that's listening, Wednesday is our permanent night for doing Buc What You Heard. I talked with Michael, and we both agreed that this works better just in case you want to watch Thursday night football. And I don't know if Atlanta's playing, we may do a special show on Thursday night just because Atlanta's playing. So there's always that possibility. But anyway, it's a good time to be a Bucs fan. We went through some rough times, and I tell you what, if you've been a Bucs fan since the Super Bowl to now, you are a true fan. I don't care what anybody says, because you've been through the highs and the lows, and here we are. We got a team that can do some things. So enjoy being a Bucs fan, and let's show that support. Let's get out there and remember, Buc What You Heard. That's it for us. Have a good night.